Alrighty. Hello and welcome everybody to this BevAge Encore session on EDBL imports. Our presenter today is going to be Riley, and we are going to get started here in just a moment. Give people some time to get in here, get settled. So we will be starting here in just a few seconds to a minute. So again, during this presentation, if you do have any questions, please feel free to use the chat bubble or the Q&A bubble, and I'd be happy to ask those questions for Riley. But as mentioned before, we will get started here in just a minute to let some people get in here and get settled. And actually, it looks like we did get a big influx of attendees, so we're just going to go ahead and get started so that way we can end on time. For those of you who did just join, this is the BevAge Encore session on EDBL imports with our lead presenter, Riley. With that, go ahead and take it away, Riley.
Yeah, thanks for the handoff there, Alex. So again, my name is Riley Tanaka. Today, what we are going to be going over is just that encore session from our BevAge conference, going over EDBL imports, importing bulk data, and getting it into your system fast processing. A couple different things. I'll introduce myself. My name is Riley Tanaka. I'm on the implementation team or onboarding team here with Encompass, just short of 4 years. Been a countless of projects and onboarding and bringing new Encompass users to Encompass and teaching them well. Outside of that, though, do love to watch any live sports, baseball, basketball, football, anything that I can go to a stadium and grab a beer is definitely my go-to activity. For today's agenda, a couple different things that we'll be going over in today's session. One is when are we going to be using those different EDBL imports as we are trying to get data into our Encompass system. We'll look at some of the differences between an EDBL and a regular table import from our import routines table. We'll go through one of our example promotions EDBL, and then as well as on that backend activity, we can give you all some different steps for you all to take home and test on your own test site as well. So where we're going to really start off is when are we going to be using these EDBL imports throughout your Encompass site? For most of you all, if you all were at the onboarding or at the beginning when you first started bringing in Encompass, you may have seen our data conversion team using those EDBL imports to bring in mass amounts of data, such as like your products, your customers, your vendors, from your previous system into Encompass. With that, right, takes me to that very next point of if we do need to create a lot of different records very quickly, EDBL imports are a nice option to have to streamline that process, in which it does skip some of the different checks, touches some different tables, and then as well as it does not create some of those different field audits that we see with our table imports. So again, just making that process a little bit quicker if we do have the integrity of our import file. A couple examples of those different EDBLs that we see commonly used between ourselves at Encompass, or as well as some higher technical users with our customers. Some including the invoice orders, which allows you all to import invoices, either multiple invoices or an invoice with a lot of different products on it very quickly. Our promotions import or EDBL, which we will be going over today, which is again allowing you all to import different pricing levels and pricing types and promotion types very quickly into our Encompass site, maybe during a pricing change, or if you all do sell any Red Bull products during all of those different Red Bull pricing options and making sure all of those markets and codes are aligned. A couple other ones, such as our remittance one. So if one of our chain customers or our parent company sends us a big check and we need to apply it to multiple different invoices, our remittance option is a very good option in there to, again, apply and enter in those different payments. Bin trans. So again, for our warehousing side, if we do need to maybe import an inventory count or maybe move some different inventory across different locations within our warehouse, our bin trans option is a very easy way to, again, take a lot of products and move them where we expect them to without that manual processing. And then our really last example here for us, our customers. So again, if you are or were a part of the onboarding process when you all started Encompass, may have seen our data conversions use this customers EDBL to bring over all of your customers from your previous system For you all going forward, as you all expand, maybe grab another distribution, expand into a different territory, this is a nice and easy import routine to use to import all of those customers at once instead of adding them one by one. So a couple differences between an EDBL import and a table import. One, as I'd mentioned before, is that we will see a lot of our Encompass users using these for our conversions and setups when we're first onboarding you all into Encompass. Comparatively with our table imports, we do just see our end users or our customers using this a lot frequently to make some quick updates to either tables or records that they need to. Just know as well with those EDBL imports, even though mostly it's going to be our side that use these, just know that our customers with a little bit higher technical ability do use EDBL imports to their benefit, again, with some of those different examples I had mentioned earlier. A couple difference here for us is that an EDBL import does add records to related tables or updates existing records across the Encompass site, versus where our table import, we are only able to update or add or delete only a single record on a single table at one time. So again, big difference, EDBL imports will be able to touch multiple tables and records. Table imports will only be able to touch one table and those records that are in that. A second big difference here for us is that most of our EDBL imports will match on those different IDs or table translations that we do set up within our different tables. Whereas I'm sure that you all have noticed with your table imports, as we are setting some of those different field names, we are able to match on different fields to find the record that we are looking for. So again, big thing with EDBL imports, we love IDs, we love table translations, again, making sure we're getting the right records. Versus table imports, right, we're just using some different search criteria to find the record that we're looking for. A big difference though here, and a big call out as well that we'll mention multiple times throughout today's session, is that EDBL imports do skip that process of creating different field audits as we are creating or updating different records. This helps speed up that process again of that import of multiple or a lot of different records. Versus our table import, we will go through those different checks and balances, making sure as well that if we do have an update or a change, that field audit is created. So then that way we can always go back and reference that. Following up on that as well, again, with our EDBL imports, we do process large files a lot quicker. Again, because we are skipping a lot of those different checks, creating all of those different field audits as we are updating or touching records. Versus again, with the table import, since we are all doing those different checks, creating those different field audits as those updates are made, that is slowing down that process, especially for some files that get up into the thousands and tens of thousands of records. And then really our last big difference here, and again, just kind of going back to our field audits not being created, there is some risk. Again, this is where we have this session to kind of ease some of those concerns, but we're always going to be saying to make sure that you review your data before we import it, as well as after we import it as well. With your table import, we know that once we complete that import, we do get those different links to the records that were updated. EDBL imports do not provide that for you. So again, this is where we will mention multiple times that you review your data before and after running those different imports. So kind of circling back just a little bit on that match IDs difference that we had pointed out earlier, that I had mentioned something called table translations. Table translations are again going to be really useful when you are bringing data over from another system that does have some key values that match up to maybe a key value within Encompass. So for example, maybe that we are doing a conversion from our Cherry Hill Encompass site, or sorry, not Encompass site, Cherry Hill system, and we're going to bring in this product into our Encompass site. We can define the value within our Cherry Hill source and relate it to a local value or that local product ID of that same product within Encompass. And so now, as we are doing any imports, we can use that foreign value as a identifier or a key ID to say that this is going to match up to our 75976 Seagram Escape Variety Club. So we won't be using table translations in today's activity, but just know that and to keep that in the back of your mind that if we do have a foreign identifier within another system, we can import that into Encompass and create that relationship to our local product or our local record within Encompass. So moving on here for us into our promotions EDBL. This is again, a really great EDBL to start with for you all to create some of those different pricing or promotions to our different customers in mass. What this allows you all to do is create the different promotions, attach the different promotion products, markets, zones, and locations if necessary as well to a different promotion, creating all of those necessary records rather than having to do it one by one or manually for us. In here, this is in our file and in our report, what we will do is we will provide the promotion ID to update. Just know that if we do find a promotion ID to update, any products that were not in my file for that promotion will be removed from that already created promotion if, again, they are not in my file. For this promotion, we do have a special criteria that it does match on that promotion name, condition, promotion type, market ID, start date and end date to find the promotion that we want if we are not able to provide that promotion ID or translation. If they are not able to find a match between that promotion ID, this criteria, then our third option happens where again our system or the EDBL import will create that promotion and then again attach all of the different necessary subtables and records that are in my file that we provided. So for our first example here, this is where we will start at our import routines table, add an import routine, set that import type to EDBL import, which is going to be a really big call out there. Making sure that we have that import routine name as a very visible as possible. So making sure that if anybody outside or who anybody is using this import routine knows exactly what that function or what that EDBL is doing as we execute some different files. Next, we'll set that EDBL destination table. This will be the different type of EDBL import routines that you all are able to select and run. You are able to type that promotion name, or sorry, that EDBL import name from the table edit itself. If you do not know exactly what that EDBL import is called, no harm. You'll notice it doesn't have an asterisk next to it, so we don't have to set it from the get-go. We can set it in our next page going forward. Our last option is that we'll hit or update our action to our update or add. So making sure we're looking for a promotion to update first. If not, then we'll go ahead and add that record in if we can't find that match. So in here for our activity for us today, I do have a file that you all can use as kind of an example. And I have 4 different columns in here. One being my product ID, the amount that we're going to be charging for that individual product, the name of my promotion, and then as well as what market that we're going to be attaching to this promotion called BevAge Lab Riley. Once I have that import file ready, this is where then I can now go into my import routines table, create my import routine and give it all of its necessary fields. So updating that import type, giving it a nice visible name. I knew the EDBL import I needed to do, so I typed that in, and then updating our action to update or add. Once I hit that create or save changes, takes me to this nice edit import routine table. If we did not set that EDBL destination table in our previous screen, this EDBL EDBL routine field here is where you're going to be able to see and select which import that we want to go ahead and complete with our file given. This will give you all the full list of EDBL imports that we have available for you all to use. Won't go through all of them, but again, today's one that we are going to be working on is just the promotions EDBL routine. If we are using table translations, this is where that EDBL source can be set, telling us what outside source are we going to be using translations for. And then down here in our import routine, this is where we can hit our use local file, find that same file that I just created and saved, and use it as our template for our import routine. So again, same spots there for us, setting our EDBL routine if necessary, clicking use local file and finding that file we just saved and created, save changes to advance. On our next option here, we're going to be in our import fields. This is where now we're going to take all of those different columns that are in our template file and then matching them up with what field in Encompass that we're going to be creating those for. So if I flip back to my table import wizard, again, we're going to map fields from the file to the Encompass field. This is again where we're going to be setting up those different table translations. So if there is a foreign value within our EDBL source that we need to match up within Encompass, this is where we can go ahead and establish that and say, let's use that table translation instead. And then the last option that you do have is this add static value. So if there was one value that needs to be set for every record in my file, this is where I could go ahead and add that value in, set the destination field, and it just looks like another column added onto my template file to get imported when we run this routine. A big call out here is that if the destination field in our source field have the same column header names, Encompass really does its best to try and match those up automatically for you all. So as you are building some of these different templates, if you can match that column header name to our destination fields, makes y'all's life a little bit easier as we're importing some of these different files. But you'll notice that we matched up on our 4 product ID, amount, promotion name, and market ID. If I needed to maybe add another static value, I can hit add static value, set my destination field. So maybe it's something just like location ID, and I can enter in a 1 there, saying that this promotion will only be available for just this location ID of 1. But for today's example, I'm just going to zero that out and we'll go ahead and hit our save changes. Where that does take us then as well from there is it takes us to our import tasks table where now we have our file already there set and ready in our new status and ready to execute. So again, takes us here for us into this table import wizard for the import tasks. You have 3 different options once you have a task in that new status. One, you can either execute to initiate that import and run through that file and import as much as we can. Our second option that we do have is to delete the task. So say that we reviewed our file, we noticed that we were missing maybe a field, or we noticed that maybe some values were off, and we don't want this task to be run. We can go ahead and just delete it from our view, so that way it does not get executed unexpectedly. And then your last option that you do have is as you're reusing some different import routines, but adding in new files, this is where we can hit that add new task button, upload a new file with that same template of our 4 columns, and executing it, again, making sure that we go through and use and import anything that we can't find. and update all of those different changes made on our new file. So in there for us, again, we have our 4 different options. We can execute, we can delete, or again, we have this add new task option where we can select our new file to execute going forward. But for this example, we'll go ahead and execute that for us. And what you'll notice is that once it does finally complete, you will get this import task results showing you exactly what tables were touched in this import routine and then how many different records were either created, updated, or deleted. What you'll notice again comparatively to our import routines or our table imports is that none of these different records are clickable links that take me directly to those records. So again, as we always recommend, once this import routine successfully runs, let's go ahead and shoot over to our promotions table and go view that promotion that got created so that way we can review that it did build as expected. So this is where again we go to our promotions table. We find that same promotion that we just created called BevAge Lab Riley. We'll notice that our market is set to our market ID 4. And then we have our different products and different amounts that line up across the board and match up in my file as well. So again, being a very nice, successful promotion right import for us, we were able to create that promotion. We were able to attach the correct market or expected market, attach those expected products with the expected amounts across the board. Now that we have created one successfully, I want to show you all the options that if we had a file that was maybe not complete imported into Encompass, and some of the things that you may notice as we import some of the missing fields that are maybe required as we create a promotion itself. So for this example, I have almost the same exact file where I have our product ID, amount, and promotion name. You'll notice for this one though, I do not have a market ID attached to it. I move over into my import routine. We have it built the same, doing our EDBL promotions, update or add, and then we added in that same file for our template. I have everything mapped out up until this point. I have my product ID, amount, and promotion name. And then we finally get to our import tasks table where we have our tasks to run. Once we do run that, we get our final results here. Oop, get our final results here. So you'll notice that with that same file, we still had one promotion created with our same promotion products created as well for that promotion. If I now go review my promotion that I have created, I find that BevAge wrong Riley. We'll notice that all of my same products are still attached, but we'll notice that since we did not set a market, Encompass created a default _2 market for me and set it on that promotion record because it was a required field. So some things again to just look out for if we are missing some of those required fields, we'll notice that, hey, we're going to skip some of those different checks and we're just going to create maybe a placeholder record. So then that way we can complete this EDBL import without any errors. So this would be a really great call out that I can either now update the market on these promotions, or again, make sure that we update our file, that we include the correct market attached. So we're not creating these _2 or _3 records that nobody knows what they mean. So again, once we have that, we're always reviewing our different data after we have completed our import routine. Another big call out, right? Just again, that we do not link those results like our table import does. So you will have to manually go find it, but we do make it nice and easy to tell you what tables those records were touched, and then making sure that it did create as expected. So a couple key takeaways from today's sessions that you all have hopefully learned with our EDBL imports. One, our EDBL imports again allow you all to import a lot of data up into the thousands, tens of thousands of records very quickly or a lot quicker than our table imports. Again, even though we are touching multiple tables and records, right, we are skipping some of those different checks and field audits being created. So again, that's what allows those EDBL imports to work as quickly as they do versus those table imports. Third time I'm probably saying this for you all here today, review your data again before and after we are executing these EDBL imports. Again, we do not create any of those field audit records. So making sure again that if we are creating some of these different records, reviewing them, making sure none of those default records are getting created as placeholders. And then really the last piece here is that we do have help resources out there for all of our different common EDBL routines that, again, end users like yourself and our other customers have been using while they are interacting with the Encompass site. Again, a common couple ones, those invoice orders to import multiple invoices, remittances, promotion products. Again, you have all of those different options in there as we're creating those different EDBL imports. So take a look at those help resources, see what those required fields are, go to a test site and start testing those out. But that takes me to our last piece here. Did we have any remaining questions that I can help answer for you all?
So I don't see any questions coming in, but I did have a few callouts and confirmations I wanted to confirm with you, Riley, as well.
Mhm.
So one of the main differences between the EDBL and an import routine is kind of that creation method, correct? Whereas a typical import routine, you would go to new table import. You can go there, it would take you to that table import wizard. Whereas in EDBL, you actually have to go to the import routines table and create a new one and set that import routine, correct?
You are correct, Alex.
Okay, just want to call that out for our attendees as well, just because there is a little bit different of a flow there. And then again, another call out too would just be the actual audit summary. So if we're creating these big EDBL records and we're importing these mass amounts of data in here, it's going to be a little harder because you're going to see created by API or someone's full name instead of a certain field audit that was created through a single import. That also correct?
Yes, you are correct.
Awesome. And let me see if we had any other questions come in. So we have a question regarding the invoice orders EDBL report. So is there anything specific that needs to be presented in order to run that specific report? Or can that be found in any of the help resources that you mentioned?
Correct. There is a help resource out there for invoice orders, but really the high level for invoice orders that we would need is a date, a location, a customer, and then the products and num units that they are purchasing from you all.
Awesome. Thank you. And then I'm going to wait a few more minutes because we do have some time for any more questions that come in. While we do wait for any more questions, I will go ahead and do my little closing spiel. Thank you again for everybody who has attended this BevAge Encore session and to Riley for presenting this information for us. There is a survey after this that if you have a moment, we would love your feedback. And if you can provide any feedback that you have at a later date, that is great as well. We do have two more BevAge Encore sessions coming up in the next few weeks. And then after that, we will be announcing our spring Skills Kickstart schedule. So keep an eye on that e-learning dashboard to see what's new and what we're going to be rolling out here. So with that, I'm going to see if there's any more questions that we have. And I'm not seeing any more pop out. This presentation will be available on the recording archive. So if you do want to go back, see our beautiful faces and re-listen to this, you're more than welcome to navigate to that dashboard. And let me see. I think there was one question that did pop up. Mm. And Ellen, it looks like your question is pretty specific, so I'm going to go ahead and keep that, and we're going to reach out to you after this webinar and get you the information you need, so that way we can go ahead and end this for everybody else. Alrighty, with that, I hope everybody has a great rest of your day and enjoy.
Thanks, y'all.